So in this video, I want to talk about question 2a. So the requirements in question 2a are like this. So you're supposed to generate data however you want, and then you're supposed to have the data be such that the correlation between x1 and y is negative, but when you run a regression like this, the coefficient for x1 is actually positive, right? And in general, like, that's not the default thing that you would expect to happen, because like if the correlation between x1 and y is negative, you'd also expect like the coefficient for x1 to be negative. So point number one here, if you literally generate the data like this, so assuming that you already have x1 and x2, and you just generate y by literally computing like a0 plus a1 x1 plus a2 x2, then if your sample size, like the number of points, is large enough, then the coefficient here is literally just going to be a1. Okay, so if this is how you generate the y's, you're not going to have any problems kind of getting whatever a1 you want. You just set this a1. Okay. Now the challenge is you set the a1 to be positive, but you want the correlation between x1 and y to be negative. So here's one way of thinking about this problem. So think about the example we had before, where if your temperature, like if it's warm outside, then people would eat ice cream, and also if it's warm outside, people would drown more. Okay, so because of this causal structure, you have a positive correlation in this case between ice cream and drowning, even though there is not like a causal relationship, right? So in this diagram, what you would have is a positive correlation between ice cream and drowning. Just if you have this kind of causal structure. Now, what we want is to still have this positive correlation, but we want a negative correlation for ice cream when predicting drowning and controlling for temperature, right? So we want to say that if we are trying to predict drowning from temperature, well, ice cream, and from temperature, we want this to be negative. So basically for the correlation to be positive, but for this to be negative. This is flipped from this example, but you can figure it out, right? So how do we accomplish this? So why would this be the case essentially? So here's one story that you could tell. The story would be, well, so temperature in general, it's true, it's going to cause the drowning to go up, and it's going to cause ice cream to go up. But maybe sometimes ice cream is on sale, so people eat more of it, not because of the temperature, but because of the price, which is not in the model. And maybe when people eat ice cream, they don't swim, so they don't drown as much. So that's another causal link between ice cream and drowning. It would go like this. And the claim here would be kind of the more ice cream, the fewer drownings. So there's going to be like a negative connection between ice cream and drowning over here. All right? So if you set it up like this, then it could be the case that when the temperature is the same, like if it's 80 degrees outside, then when people eat more ice cream, they drown less. So you have a negative A1 coefficient here. So how would you generate a data set that's like that? Well, first we'll generate the temperature, because that's not dependent on anything. You can't yet generate the drownings because you need to generate the ice cream first, because drownings depend on ice cream. So you generate the drownings, then you generate ice cream, and now, temperature, then ice cream, and now you can generate drownings. So it's similar to how we first generated tar, and then we generated asbestos, and only then could we generate cancer. Okay? Now, one thing you probably want to do is you want to make sure that the association here is pretty strong between temperature and ice cream and temperature and drowning, so that most of what's going on is that if you have a high temperature, you have both more ice cream and more drownings. But you want to have like a weak negative connection here. So if this is weak and this is strong, then you'll have a positive correlation between ice cream and drownings, because most of what's going on is the temperature varies, and with that the ice cream and the drownings vary as well. But if you hold the temperature fixed, then you'll have a small negative effect of ice cream on drownings. Okay, and if you do it like that, you'll get those states. So you'll do it for your own story.